Um, the conversation we're about to have is so disruptive, to say the least. And I've thought about it, if I should do this publicly. But again, because the truth is the truth, there is no point shying away from it. So we're going to dive into the conversation deeply tonight. Yeah, basically, I wrote a chapter in my book that detailed this kind of conversation, and some of the things that will form the background of this conversation tonight will be related with what some of those who have related with the material have seen. However, if I speak on something 4 times, there are always new things to bring on board, even on a continuum. So those of you who are online, like the video, just like it, react on it, and all of that. Thank you. So I title it tonight that the agents of change, they are non-conformist. Agent of change, they are non-conformist. But when you read chapter 10 of my book, Strategic Reinvention, I titled that chapter as Be Creative with Rebellion. Be creative with what? With rebellion. You know, but tonight I want to go away from that term because that term in itself can be confrontational to a lot of people, and not as though I care like that for how you feel about the term. But I also don't like leaving people in a state of confusion, so to speak. All right. In the book, I share the stories of different people in the in our contemporary society, in different generations and different, territories, in different geography. How that the people who will be able to make practical, undeniable impact in their own times, they are people who are not following the rules. And when I talk about the rules in this context, I'm not talking about the laws of God. I'm not talking about the rules that you can't do anything without. All right. But there are certain things that are in existence, such that if you believe that the way everything is being done now is the way they ought to be done, you can never be part of the people who will matter in the future. That is practical enough. All right. So, but because of the misleading concept of rebellion, that's why I moved away from that. All right. Because when you talk about rebellion, rebellion is more like going against established authorities or established rulers. So it's more like an insurrection by subordinates trying to usurp authority from their leaders. But that's not the concept of my conversation. So the summary, maybe I should set the background in a way that will be clear to you, is that you must not shut down the aspect of your life that question things around you. Not only that, to be able to be part of the players, part of the major contributors, part of the people bringing about the changes that will happen in the future. That is the whole idea. All right. I remember years back while we were, I think 2016, one of my elder brothers, who at the time was, I think, a manager in First Bank, was sharing a story with us that while they were in school, they were being trained, of course, to become different stuff. But there was a guy among them who was always telling them that, you see, that the guy was speaking that he was never going to apply for any job in Nigeria. And they were looking at him that you are not from a rich family. It's not as if you just had what it takes to be an entrepreneur right away after campus. But because this guy was so persuaded, he began to reinvent the wheel around some of the things that other people just accepted as the right thing. So when they finished from school, they all went for national youth service. You know all those stuffs in Nigeria. By the time they were done, the rest of them were looking for jobs, and this guy decided to be selling recharge card, phone accessories, all of that. That's a university graduate. Now, I'm not talking about this one a lot of people are doing because they are jobless. This one had the opportunity to actually be to have a gainful employment, so to speak. But he decided, all right, that he wanted to pursue something differently. Just pay attention to what I'm saying. So those who proceeded to accept the offers that he had, they were being promoted in their place of work. Everything was going on fine. But fast forwarded to 15 years after the school, I think 10 years, according to what Big Bro told us that time, they were able to reconnect with this guy. The guy at that time, because he went to school, he had reason to become a major distributor for one of the brands of all these cell phones I think in West Africa also. And he was telling them that that year alone, he had sold 5.2 million pieces of Technophone. 5.2 million pieces. So, anyways, those who have gone to where they wanted to go, they have risen and become managers, no doubt. Everybody was progressing in their own right. But by the time this guy, all right, was going to be reconnecting with them. He told them, he said, I'm not going to tell you guys what I make or what I don't make, but just calculate it in your mind. And the story I'm sharing with you is more than 10 years ago now that happened. So we are not talking about the days of now. He told them, he said, even if it were to be only 100 naira, that has been my profit on each of the pieces of 5.2 million phones I've sold. What do you think will have been my profit? Okay. So they that is basically not just following the common idea of the people. That is not too innovative in itself, but it takes God for you to say, I just don't want to follow the way everybody's following. So that is the concept of what we are talking about tonight. So the last time that we are having this conversation, I said to you that everything that is being done on earth right now is a matter of time. They all will expire. The expiration can come in terms of method. The expiration can even come in terms of application of that thing. Basic conversation. Listen, years back, you remember the case of typewriter, right? How different people were, trying as much as they could. In fact, while I was in school, I mean secondary school, so to speak, I was taught typewriter in business studies. Right now in the whole world, that is something that is not applicable. Does that mean what typewriter was supposed to be doing that time has been done away with? The answer is no. But the typewriter in itself, both the skill and the product and the entire, technology was already getting out of use, so to speak, because something better, something more advanced was going to replace it. Let's leave that. I remember while I was 7, part of the things they were trying to teach us, some of you who are 7 now can relate with this. There is something they used to call, what do you call this thing? Where they divide you into different groups. Is it CDS now? Where they will ask you to learn one thing or the other in terms of entrepreneurship. I really can't remember the name now, but if you can help me, you can put it in the comment box. So I remember part of the things they were teaching those years was how to make chalk. That is the white particle that you use to write something. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm right. Thank you. Yeah, Sylvester got it right. Sahed, they call it Sahed group, all of that. So, and they were trying to teach us how to make chalk. So they will ask you if you want to learn how to do that, be in so group and so group. But right now, all of you can bear me witness. I don't know if there is anywhere chalk is still being used right now, even in Nigeria, so to speak. And if there are places where those things are still being used, those are going to be remote areas where no matter how much of effort you invest into production of that thing, you can never be wealthy, you cannot be rich because the demand for that is already going down. However, writing on the board, has that stopped? The answer is no. It means something replaced that chalk. So anywhere you are present, in whatsoever you are doing, if you don't have this consciousness to investigate the happenings there and begin to predict what can the future of this thing be, even if you lack what it takes to be among the creator of that future of that thing, you shouldn't be a victim of it. Because if you are not prepared for changes and you are not part of the people creating the change, you will be a victim of it. Definitely, your good intention notwithstanding. Your good intention notwithstanding. Those days, if you want to do any this kind of meetings that we are doing now, years back, this was practically impossible. This was practically impossible. So at that level, people were trying to, everybody began to get familiar with some structures where you can gather people anytime you want to have meetings. But before 2019, some guys sat down and they tried to check that in years to come, will people actually prefer to meet physically with the way everything is going? Would there be luxury of time for people to sacrifice their time, energy, resources to always converge together if there is an alternative and they provided that alternative? But you cannot be part of the people who will create this alternative if you don't believe that what is going on now will never last forever. Can't they pay attention to what I'm saying? Whatever is invented by man can never last forever. Every product of man's intelligence or ingenuity lacks capacity to be eternal. So, at best, they can only stay for a longer period of time. And for them to stay for a longer period of time, it has to be that the major people behind that thing, they are tickling something called improvement and advancement. But if you make something happen and you leave it the way it is, in no distant time, the thing will fade away completely. So you can copy this to building of structures. You can copy this to how you organize your life. You can copy this to the employment you're having today. Some of you, what they trained you in school to become may be something that nobody will be will be looking for someone who has that kind of skills in years to come. Not too long ago, we're always being encouraged, go and learn videography, learn what do you call it again? Out all this graphic design, all of that. But we know right now that, of course, those who entered into those things earlier, they were able to make some good money. There are no doubt about that, and which makes a lot of sense. And I salute them because they are still helping us even as we speak. But let me tell you, there is no graphic designer in the future. There is no videographer. The videographer, video editors in the future are the people who know how to use artificial intelligence within a short period of time to produce what people are spending hours and weeks to accomplish now. So what that means is, it's not as though the service of video editing will not be needed. It's not as though the service or services of graphic designers will not be necessary, but how it will be needed will change. It's definitely going to change. So if you are proficient right now in whatsoever you are doing, but by the time people change from the way they are demanding for your service, and you have not been able to change, in a corresponding way, the implication of that is you will need to watch new kids in the blocks take over from you. And it won't take too long. It will be as if you were never part of the player in that field. So people who are actually going to be part of the future, they are naturally non-conformist. Tonight, I like to tell you, probably you've been told to always say yes everywhere you get to. Probably you've been taught by either your parents, and I can relate with the background of most of you or most of us here, or probably in your religious settings where they raised you up. You were raised to always be accepting whatever is being thrown at you. But I can tell you, real life will demand more than that from you. Oh, real life will demand more than that from you. If you are just saying yes and no, yes here and there, it won't take too long. Everybody will know that the only thing you will be able to manage in life will be things that have been in existence. There is no way something creative and meaningful can emanate from that kind of defective mindset. All right. So I will now be citing Let me also set the background what this being a non-conformist should not lead you to do. Because sometimes people learn things, but they misapply the same. They misapply the same. I used to have a friend that if everybody is going right, the guy will go left. And one of the days I said, I've noticed something that even if your opinion initially, probably what we've spoken about before those kind of public gatherings, if his opinion has been A, the moment more people are talking about A as the preferred option, the guy will say, I'm going with B. And he said, well, I don't like to follow the crowd. I said, no, you are missing it. You are missing it. I told him, the person I'm talking about eventually attended Obafemi University. I said, you are missing this point. The reason is because the idea is not for you to always be going against what most people believe in. There may be few moments where normal persons, average people, can agree with what is right. At that point, you don't need to go left to prove to them that you are not thinking like them. No. But where this is practically applicable is that at a time where majority of the people are deciding to go to a different direction that is not consistent with your persuasion, you don't mind standing alone. That is where this is applicable. So it is not all about, you see, some people in systems that appears to be non-conformist or to be non-conformers. In the real sense of it, some of them have esteem issues. They are looking for recognition. So that's not what I'm teaching you tonight. If you have not come to the place of self-identity, you won't be able to relate with some of the things I'm talking about. And I've taken my time in time past to teach and recommend materials that can bring people to that experience. So you can be in a place where you are not trying to distinguish yourself by force. But the moment what will trigger you to stand alone comes, you must have the gut, the spine, the liver to remain unbended. That's exactly what I'm teaching you to do. So if everybody is saying we shouldn't go to hell, you shouldn't say I will now go to hell to prove other people wrong. That would mean that you are foolish. That is what that means. So some people, what they're looking for is attention. No, I'm not teaching you to look for attention. I'm teaching you to be a change agent, to be part of the people curating new reality in your society, in your place of work, and in your field of endeavor. Are we together now? Are we together? I shared the story about the development of even don't let me call it development, the journey of Christian faith, that God Himself eventually had to take the advantage of the people who were non-conformers to bet what He had in mind. You could have imagined what would have been the state of Christianity right now if everything has been left to the hands of the Roman Catholic Church. Just imagine what would have been happening now. Maybe for those of you who have not related with some of those material, let me tell you some of the things that happened. You know, before the days of Martin Luther, then in the Roman Catholic Church, only the Reverend Fathers, the people who were practically they are the ones preaching to people, otherwise what you call the clergies today. But there were a few of them who were the custodian, all right? They were the custodian of then the Bible of that time. And part of the things that were not written in the Bible, they will read their minds to it and convince the people to believe the same. Even though the Bible is available to all now, we know most people are not reading it, and that's why it's easy for a lot of people to be manipulated. But pay attention to what I'm saying. So part of the things these people were trying to teach people, let me just cite two of myriads of examples, is that they believe that when someone dies, they could pray on earth to change the destination of that person. That is, they could pray to translate somebody from hell even to paradise. And all these that is around purgatory. So, and what were those Reverend Fathers using these things to do? They were using it to collect money from people who are bereaved. If your dad dies, And they will now say, no, with the way your dad lived his life and all of that, he's obviously not going to make it. But if you bring money to us, we can pray him from hell, from Hades to the bosom of Abraham. And they were able to hammer this funny point for years, and some people believed them. And they were collecting money, they were collecting money. That's a part of it. Another part is that they couldn't come to the point of realization on how to please God. Are you seeing that? They couldn't come to that realization. So people were living, the monks, they were living in monasteries. People were buffeting their bodies every day. Somebody will tell you that if I sleep, on stones for a week, then I will be acceptable to God. But unfortunately, none of those people really got to that point ever where they felt they are worthy enough to be accepted by God. But you see, a whole generation agree with that narrative. That's why many of the experiences you are having, somebody else is determining it for you, but you are not aware. Somebody else is trying to accomplish something by selling the narratives to you. When you open your Facebook, you open your Instagram, you go on Twitter, there is an emphasis. Those platforms are designed to project to you. And that's why I can tell you for free, in the next 10 years, average marriages will begin to look alike. Now, their financial capacity may be different, their exposure, all of that may be different, but their outlook will almost be the same. Do you know why? Most of them are learning on social media, and there will be more failures because what is being projected there is a complete deviation from realities. But back to what I was talking about. So, as they were doing all of that, Martin Luther now got to a point to get access to the book, the Bible, that those people were reading for them. And by the time he was able to get access to the Bible, he now read and realized that the provision of God is that people will become justified by their faith, which otherwise is the popular scripture, the just shall live by his faith. And this man meditated on it, all of that. You can check out all these histories. And that led to a revolution. That led to a revolution. Now, why I'm not here to come and re-narrate the story for you, this is what I'm about to let you know. It means even the death of Christ on the cross of Calvary will have been streamlined in application, will have been mortgaged on the basis of certain people's narrative and prejudices by trying to project what was not the truth as the truth until a nonconformist arose to challenge that reality. To challenge that reality. And that was what led to the Protestant church and all of that. Then we continue from that moment to other form of division, like that, till we get to where we are today. That is in a religious setting. In a religious setting. So imagine if that man accepted everything as being perfect. I like you to know that there is no perfection in any human system, in any human product, in any human invention, or whatsoever it is that is not created directly by God. It lacks the capacity to host perfection in its fullness. But only the people who are thinking in this way, they are the only ones who can be able to penetrate into the heart of the future of each of those things. For instance, what common people do is to copy what reasonable people have been able to do. There's a book. I know this guy has it. I wouldn't ask him to share with you because if he shares with all of you, you won't buy. And that is against the copyrights of the author. Yeah. He wrote the book, intelligent work being packed together. And, you know, I'm talking about zero to one. There's a book like that, zero to one. I know TGF has it. Again, TGF, don't share with them. After you sent me that PDF, I've ordered for a copy. I think it was maybe $20 or something. Because I wrote a book and I know what it means for people to just be sharing your book free of charge. And also what that guy wrote inside that book. If you get it for free, you may not read it, but just get the book zero to one. That is talking about the energy of invention and the energy of innovation. Zero to one. Just go and read that book. I recommend it 100%, especially for those of you who are entrepreneurs. You know, the man, I think, is a professor or a visiting professor in Stanford. Those are Ivy League universities in the United States. That's where they develop most of the business models they are using to run the Fortune 100 companies all over the world. So if an author like that is speaking, you should know that he's speaking from the place of depth of experience, you know. So, but what I'm saying is in zero to one, there are people who can bring something out of nothing. We call them the innovators of this world. And there is no innovators that struggle for recognition. There is no innovator that struggles for recognition. It's practically impossible. That is none of their duties. Do you know why? Their product will speak for itself. Their work will speak for itself. Imagine Elon now trying to sponsor a post for people to see what he's doing. Won't you be wondering that is Elon crazy or something is not going well with him? He doesn't need that. Imagine Mark Zuckerberg trying to sponsor a post. Who owns the platform where everyone is sponsoring posts? So these are people who did not have templates and they were able to create something from nothing. And what they created from nothing, every other person plugged into it. But pay attention to something. You may not be able to function at the level of innovation, but there is nobody. All right. I hope I'm not mixing them up now. There is nobody who cannot function at the second phase. If you can't function at the second phase, it's because you are either unenlightened or you have decided to become suboptimal through predominant wrong ideologies you are running your life with. Are you seeing that? So the people who are inventors, they occupy a very small portion of the human population. Why every other person can innovate? What does it mean to innovate? Something that has been invented, you bring advancement to it, full stop. That is the idea of innovation. That is the idea of innovation. So Stanford scholars, they describe it as one to infinity. The energy of invention, zero to one, right? You created something out of nothing, which only few people tap into that reality. And that does not mean other people can't enter, only that some are not trained to do it and some are not positioned to do it. Again, some, in fact, everything around them can never make them function in that reality. But there is nobody that can function in the other part. What is the other part? You are working to advance what has been invented. Are you seeing that? For instance, primarily, people those days, right? People started formal education by constructing and building classrooms, all of that. But you see that a lot of people came to the understanding they couldn't create something contrary to that, but they began to advance that thing. Then we moved from normal classroom to digital courses. There are institutes right now that are recognized across the world. Um, about 65 to 70% of their graduates are not even on grant. They are advancing what has been. You see, what a person is doing is innovation, not invention. It's not inventing anything. It's not inventing anything. So if you will scale on time in any aspect of the society where you are present, you need to come to this consciousness by just going to the point or coming to a point of realization that there is a future that is not visible to everybody in this thing that we are doing. How can I know that future before everybody knows it? How can I? How can I be part of that future before everybody knows it? Today now, you see podcasts everywhere, but you know that somebody started that. Podcast in itself is an advancement to an existing way of doing things. Before, people will be brought to TV, which is still happening now. Just like in Nigeria, they brought this woman, the Kogi senator, that was that alleged the Senate president of sexual harassment. That is Godswill Akpabio. So you saw that Arise TV and all the rest of them, they were trying to intervene in all of that. You know, those are the conventional way of doing interview. Though now most of those TV they have advanced enough that some of the people you are seeing are recording from their rooms or being broadcasted from their rooms. But some people realize that see, this thing that is being done on TV, do you know we can set up a platform in our rooms, set up a studio and duplicate exactly what is going on there and be doing it periodically. Now, this time, you don't need licensure from anywhere. You don't need to be paying certain forms of, all those, whatever you pay to hold a station. You don't need to buy cable. You just need to have a space on the internet and people will be able to access that. Fast forwarded, every other person is doing it. What makes this conversation critical is that I don't want you to be thinking of what has been, but to position yourself to be part of the people who will be able to host the things that are yet to be. Because there are a lot that are yet to be and that will still be. Not too long ago, you know, they just monetize YouTube across the world. Not I don't know, but I know they monetize YouTube on another level not too long ago that most people are now trying, to do a lot on that. So myself and one of my friends who were gisting, and we said the guy that created the platform, Coco Melon, number one, as at that time that he was creating that platform, you all of us know that his plan probably did not cover any from the views at all. Are you getting what I'm saying? If you are getting what I'm saying, put it in the comment section. I like to be sure that what I'm saying is clear enough to you. So all the guy was after was just to get the app that will go around the world and virtually in every home they will be able to watch the cartoons. But we check one of the videos that the guy has on his platform. The least views we were seeing were 8 million views per video. Per video. See, all that is important, listen to me, is for you to be able to plug into the energy, either of invention or innovation, and put that thing to practice on time. As other people are coming later to bet their own newness, what is going to happen is part of their own advancement, we amplify that which you have done before them. So you know what the app is worth now, the platform is worth now. Then compare it to how much people earn by a million views. Multiply that by the number of videos that guy has on his platform. And let me seize this opportunity to move away a bit from the conversation and challenge some of you. I hope you know that whosoever that guy is that started that platform, he was not the only person who had that idea. That idea came to him. No idea comes to any single man on earth. Don't overrate yourself to feel this thing that I'm perceiving, I'm the only one perceiving it. No. Even though the same thing is revealed to people, the inherent capacity they have built in themselves will actually affect the interpretation and how they exemplify that vision. No doubt about that. That's why if you give the same raw material to two different builders, they are going to give you different quality of building. Different quality of building. Because you can't separate a man from the development of his mindset. But imagine if that guy practically refused to build that platform. Now, I'm not talking about the agenda they are using the cartoons to accomplish now. That's his duty. He's the one who knows what he's looking for. Maybe he's looking for more money, more relevance, and is accepting those propositions. That's not the focus now. But we are talking about how much of accomplishment in terms of scaling that guy has been able to get. That guy has been able to get. Now, imagine if the guy has concluded that only by what were the things children used to play with, that's the only thing children will be playing with for the rest of their lives. You see, the way we are doing this broadcast now, maximum of 10 years away from now. Of course, you know there are better ways to do it now, but I'm saying maximum of 10 years away from now, everything, including maybe this mic I'm using, will have been transformed completely. That you'll be wondering if this were to be a new thing entirely. If this is a new thing entirely. So the possibilities in terms of blessings, in terms of visibility, in terms of recognition, in terms of product, in terms of cross-cultural influence and impact, you miss all of them the moment you accept to be a conformist. Are you seeing that? So many heroes will die unsung. So many good writers, we have no, you know, let's say titles on their credit because they refuse to translate their idea to product. Emanuela from Canada, good to have you. Thank you for joining. Are we together now? So, like, let me also take advantage of the comment. Those of you in Canada right now, those of us in the United States, some of you in the UK, a lot of people that traveled from your home country to where you are today, they are living their lives 100% as conformers in those territories. Such that 10 years later, the only difference that is going to be seen in their lives compared to why they were in their former country or former location of geography is just the things their eyes are seeing in terms of ergonomics. Because people don't try. They don't even try it. It is when you try it, you begin to activate certain parts of the neurons in in your brain. You can shut down the creative aspect of your life completely. And if you do it for long, it will be difficult to resurrect it. It will be very difficult. It will be very difficult. So a lot of people, they have they have gotten to that stage where the best thing that can happen to them, all right, is just to live, procreate, eat food, give counsel to other people out of their regrets and die. Because they have passed that stage where they can translate ideation to practicality. Unfortunately, some people are even growing older without ever realizing that they have missed a major part of what is called human experience that we are describing here today. You see, everybody wants to have something either to his name, or we try to compete against one another on various platforms. There is a guy that I respect a lot who shared a different views to the views I have about a subject recently. I read his post 3 times. After I finished reading, I disagreed again. I said that's your opinion, though. I respect this man, but no, that's your opinion. And again, he cited practical examples as to why what he was saying should be what people should accept. But the point that I believe that he spoke against is that I believe, and again, even right now, I believe that there is a mental positioning you can retain such that if you have corresponding hunger to translate that thought into action, society will create space for you. That's my belief. And in every sector of human endeavor, I have examples to what I'm saying. From religion to sport to academics and research to business to politics, leadership, just mention it. And I don't have my examples only from my home country. I will be giving you examples both in Western world and Africa. That's how I make my comparative analysis. I don't sit down to evaluate people in an environment, probably that exactly what they are doing there. If you copy it and paste it in another geography, the thing will crumble. No. I put things side by side. Are we together now? So that is how agents of change are actually being born. Let me go back to one of the things I wrote in my book about a major matter that happened in Europe. That was in the era of Galileo. In the days of Galileo, the scholars in the Middle Age, they believed that the earth was flat. Are you seeing that? And someone who came against that was supposed to be a discovery that eventually was accepted. But the first person who went against that assumption, that speculation, those of you who are scientists, you remember scientific method, how you come about certain speculations after which you draw hypothesis. All right. You have observation. From that observation, you are trying to speculate. Then from your speculation, you are designing an hypothesis. Then you are going to experimentation. All of that. By the time your experiment is proven correct, you accept or discard your hypothesis and you have a conclusion. That is how theories are formed and laws are made, are propounded, so to speak. You remember those basic stuff. When this guy went against the general belief as at the time that the earth was flat. He said the earth was not flat. You know what they did? Roman Catholic Church, they charged this guy for heresy, that he was being heretic. And before you know it, other people began to work on this research. Long and short, the first man who came up with that proposition against general belief, he was incarcerated, and eventually, I think he died on house arrest. On house arrest. So, what I'm telling you is not actually something that will make your life so comfortable as you think. So, only disruptors can work with the template we are discussing today. These are major conversations among top company, you know, movers. And some of them, some of their instructors, they release materials. We see these things, and when we read things, we are able to draw inferences. So, to the degree you are ready to contend, it is to the degree what is on your hearth will be able to see the light of the day. But can I beg you today that don't die with only potentials? Do you ask yourself every day that by the time you will be leaving this world, what exactly will you be remembered for? What exactly will you be remembered for? But you see, a different generation came after Galileo, right? And they were able to find out that the man was correct. So that single person was the one who was correct, even against the general perspective of the entire Middle Age scholars in Europe and the Roman Catholic Church put together. You know, that time, Roman Empire itself, by the time the church came up, you couldn't separate politics from religion. So Roman Catholic Church had a lot of direct impact, influence, control, management, regulation on virtually every aspect of those, of their immediate society that time. But long and short, the man was proven correct after many years. Some of the things that ought to expire by the virtue of your contribution, you will subject the whole world to experience a lie with applause because you refuse to give us the future of those things. Future are created, people. And when people create it, you either pay for it, like I said, or you be a victim of the same. You pay to enjoy it, or you are being victimized by the new experience. Then, if truly you believe you have core value that will not affect humanity negatively, why can't you be a part of the change agent in your own generation? You don't start from the top because that's what you'll be thinking now. What can I do that will now challenge the entire, you know, structure of the whole world? No, you begin from somewhere. You begin from somewhere. There's something that is more critical than capacity. As I'm starting to wind down tonight, it is willingness. Willingness is more powerful than your capacity. And let me explain what I mean by willingness is more powerful than capacity. A lot of times, life may demand from you more than you are willing to give. But life will never demand from you more than you have capacity to offer. Life may demand from you more than you are willing to give, but there's no time life will demand from you more than what you have capacity to offer. Now, this is where the problem lies. It is to the degree you are willing, you will be able to unlock your capacity. So I'm saying to someone here, many of the things you are calling difficulty right now, in the past, and in times to come, they are things placing demand on your inherent capacity. But because your willingness is low, you are unable to supply the required capacity, even though it's inside of you. Willingness, 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 willingness. I shared a story of how some of you probably saw this thing because I posted it that time. How a professor came to the class, that was in 2023, and he was saying something in a mixed class, graduate students, undergrads, and honor students. So it was a mixed class. And he's a very intelligent professor, an expert in his field. As he said that thing, actually, because I could relate with the teaching to the point he said it, I really did not agree with that statement. However, I couldn't challenge him because I wasn't trying to even get the entire, body of knowledge he was trying to dispense. All right. But once young guy in the class raised up his hand and said, "Sir, I don't agree with that thing that you said." Everybody look at the guy. Well, in this part of the world, nobody will victimize you for that. Nobody's going to punish you for that. I just imagine that in my own country, you tell a professor in the class that I don't agree with this that you have said. Oh boy, you know, let's leave that. We all left the class believing that everything the man said was the right thing. Probably the young boy was the one missing it up. But the next morning, to my amazement, I got an email from the professor, and the prof apologized for raising a misleading point in class yesterday, affirming that what the young man said was the right thing. My God, as if that was not enough. It was not too long, from that moment that I went to write an exam. And in the exam, the very subject of controversy, certain questions came from that area. And I said to myself, if this professor has not supplied the correct answer by admitting that he made a mistake the previous day, I would have failed the exams innocently because of my belief in his credibility. Because I wouldn't have been writing what the prof told me and in my mind be thinking I was writing something that was wrong. That day, when that thing happened to me, I penned it down again that I will never allow myself to be a victim of another person's ignorance. And how do I mean by that? Everything you are hearing that sound new, every development coming to you that appear to be new, no, don't accept them in entirety. Newness is speaking two languages, and you need to understand it. There are two sides to something sounding new to you. There is first the revelation of your ignorance before the revelation of the truth. So, revelation of your ignorance, even if I tell you a lie because you don't know, it will sound good to you. And if I'm convincing and appealing in my voice and persuasive, you are likely going to accept what I'm saying. So the first thing, when you don't know anything, something before, and somebody is bringing it to you, it's not the challenge at that moment is not acceptance. It's for you to ask. I first want to appreciate this because obviously this is the revelation of my ignorance. The revelation of your ignorance should lead you to consider, to go for what is called verification. What is the authenticity of this information I'm getting? Lack of this is the reason why many things that are never true have become popular. In religious environment, there are believers who quote scriptures that are not in existence. You hear stuff like heaven help those who help themselves. Not written anywhere. Somebody said it, people trust the credibility of the person, and they began to speak as though that is the word of God. So both at work, in application of principle, in learning, maintain this consciousness that to be a change agent, you can't just be following the norms. Go back if you joined later to see how I started, because I said there are moments where majority may be right. And you don't need to prove a point by going left. But most of the time, majority are always wrong. To be very honest with you. To be very honest with you. And that's where I'm going to stop tonight. We'll take questions. If there are, which I believe there should be. But if you have questions, first indicate that, yeah, you have a question. Um, so that I will know if I'm waiting to give responses to certain questions. Are we together now? All right. So change agents are non-conformists. Maybe we should bring it back home. Some of you know the story of Mandiba, South Africa, Nelson Mandela. Read their stories. I have a copy of his book. What was the title of the book? Long Walk to Freedom. You know, I have that of Nigeria here. I have the case of Biafra, the one that Shino Achebe wrote. And sometimes I just want to read these things to see the role people played in their dispensation. Okay, Paul, you have two questions. Please, if you can, kindly type them on time. All right. So I will be using the opportunity to add more to what we have on ground. Once again, those of you who joined tonight, thank you for being on ground. This was supposed to be in-house meeting between myself and my mentees, but I just decided to teach it here publicly, and I will leave it open for anybody to see it. You can share with people. It's free. Subscribe to the platform. We appreciate that. There are different wholesome contents that will come your way, especially to give you perspective that will give you significant equipping to lead a life that is not only of being on ground, but of significance. Yeah. Thank you. So bring up your question, Paul. Bring your question. Somebody said, what a humble professor. Yeah, that's how life should be. But a lot of times when people teach you what is wrong and you are running your life on that wrong assumption, they figure out what is the right thing, they will never tell you again. So you will be on fast lane, running with something that will never work because you are persuaded on a lie or with a lie or by a lie. But who are you going to blame eventually? So it is your duty as an individual to, this is not you criticizing and confronting people. I'm talking about mind positioning. There are a lot of things people say, I hear and I nod, but I really don't agree. And sometimes I don't have what it takes to to take that out of view that this is wrong. No, I can't cancel it. So I need to now say, okay, I want to know more about this thing. Why there are things people say, I just know that this is your own bias, this is your prejudice, this is not even true. This is not even true. Maybe one of the days I wrote something on my Instagram, you can check and see it. I wrote on how you can establish the truth when you hear conflicting opinions. How do you come to conclude that this is the truth? I wrote about three different, articles to explain that. All right, let me respond to the question. Uh, can you all hear me? All right. I think I have the, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of your question, the sound, right? Okay, good. I saw it. I already responded to it. Okay, let me read it again. In a bid to be a major reformer, do you necessarily have to be a conformant for a while to the status quo you are trying to influence? What your question suggests to me is that you are asking that in a place where you are seeing imperfection, do you have to blend alongside with them for a while, probably till you gain your footings before you can now start influencing? If my interpretation of your question is wrong, then it means I'm providing another question, which is what I'm answering. But let me know also in the comment section. But if that is your intention, if that was your intention, basically, the first application of this thing is in your personal management, not in systemic operation. In systemic operation, you can never create a change in a system. You can never create a change in a system where your stake is not strong. And you can't have a strong stake in a system until you've been trusted by that system, and you will never earn the trust of a system that you are challenging from the beginning. That should answer your question. Okay, good. Second question. Major reformers in various sectors, they are not Christians. Can you please share what the man in Christ is missing? Okay. Is he being excessively distracted by his Christian activities, or why? Brilliant question, I must say. And that's the indication of that to me is that there is something bubbling in your mind. Can you share what the man in Christ is missing? Major reformers in various sectors are not Christians. Let me, not popular opinion, but let me say this to you clearly, that God Almighty, when it comes to grand scheme of things, is not pro Christians, is pro human. Let that sink very well. A lot of things, when you read the scriptures, the Bible describes God as a good father that caused it to rain on both the good and the wicked. I said something on the platform, and a lot of people were looking at me. I said, the challenge I have is a lot of the things I want to talk about, the people listening to it, the things they've spent all their lives learning has already subjected them to wrong interpretation that they can't even comprehend. I told them, I said, the idea of does God prosper or God does not prosper, before you take position with somebody you believe in, before you do what we call cancel culture in terms of identification on idea, can you ask simple questions? I said, across the continent in the world, who are the richest people in all the continents? This one has nothing to do with Africa. In Africa, in Europe, in Asia, in you know North America, and all of that. Go and check the belief system of each of the topmost mover of the economics of those lands. I asked the person, I said, how many of them are believers? They are not very certain. I said, the next thing you should answer now is, was it Satan that prospered all of them? Hey, well, maybe Satan. I said, this thing is simple. Why we can go to discuss about the provision of God for the prosperity of a believer and the provision of God for the provision of humanity. Let me just put the difference clearly here. God prospers everybody, believer and unbeliever alike. Pay attention. And prosperity is more than substance. Part of the question you are asking, that is how God prospers you. When He gives you idea and He gives you the courage for execution, He is already prospering you. Because when you have good idea and you don't have the courage to execute, it won't see the light of the day. But the idea now is, please pay attention, a believer is being resisted by the devil. An unbeliever is not resisted by God. Go and read your Bible. God resists the proud. Full stop. God is not resisting unbeliever from prospering. God is not restricting unbelievers from prospering. In fact, a lot of unbelievers, because of how they give their minds to development and build themselves to be able to withstand different situations, God can trust them with some of His plans than many of the people who have been in faith. That's why, read your Bible, read contemporary history, you will see that major things are achieved in the kingdom by unbelievers who have been blessed and developed, but later God converted. They are not the people who have been converted before them, but refuse to be developed upstairs. If my question, if you are getting what I'm saying, let me know. Let me know. So to now say, what is a believer in Christ missing? Number one thing is for a believer to know that the principle of God, they walk hand in glove with His nature. You can't be breaking principles and be claiming promises. I heard that from maybe Pastor Femi Emmanuel years back. You can't be breaking principles and be claiming promises. So go back to the principle of God, because His principle are superior to His miracles. The moment the man of faith or the man in faith can walk directly with the principle of God by trusting God, his disposition to life will change completely. Are you saying that? It's going to change completely. But what do we have? People will believe that without doing anything, something is just going to happen overnight. So instead of taking steps, they are waiting for the magic. And when you are not developed to be able to carry and show that certain weight of blessings, God is not a wicked father. His faithfulness has to ensure that you miss those blessings for you to still be able, for you to be preserved. And some of these unbelievers, they have developed themselves in a way that simple things cannot frighten them. It's a believer that gets $1 million and say, I can't show up in church. Go and check somebody who is getting his backing from the court. The more he rises, the more his commitment. Are you seeing that? So for me, what a believer is missing is that foundationally, many people are not taught God's principles and how to align with it. So they grow up without playing their parts. God, in the realm of man, gets things done through partnership with men. He doesn't do things again by himself alone. In this realm that we are in, even demons cannot get anything done until they possess somebody. Even demons. If they don't possess anybody, they are incapacitated. Are you seeing that? And everything you do, for those who are in my closer group, I thought about this sometimes back. How I taught you that whatsoever it is you are doing in life, there is a spirit of that thing. And if you do that thing consistently to a level, it's like you are wooing a spirit. You are wooing a spirit. When you are consistent to that, because that spirit is seeking expression, it takes the advantage of your body. So some unbelievers, they are already running the script that is being backed up by a spiritual force that they themselves are not acknowledging. Some people get awards in places and they are saying they believe it's their effort. Oh, go and ask people who have invested efforts and nothing has come out. All right. So let me leave that there. Another question is saying, sir, in a political environment or relationship with a highly profiled person, coming against their position on things seems confrontational and may lead to internal political division or disloyalty. Yes, correct. So to say, so in this position, what is one expected to do as a reformer? Good. I've been expecting this kind of question. More so, let me also publicly congratulate you. This is one of my guys. He's just appointed recently for a position with the National House of, I think, House of Representatives in Abuja. Again, congratulations. I've told you, some of you, 6 years ago, that there is nobody here that is around to hang around me. Very clearly, I'm talking about 6 years ago. That was when I started speaking to these guys like that. Nobody is around me to hang around me. We are together so that each of you can be optimized. And I'm happy for the development some of you are making. I'm happy. Where I saw the pay slip of somebody in Nigeria, they're earning in millions. And I'm like, oh, amazing. That's cool. And I always tell all of you, like I told you the last time, that this is not your best. This is an entry to more doors. Don't close this one by wrong attitude and positioning. So, on that note, I'm going to answer your question publicly. I will have answered it privately. You see, you can't say everything you see, especially in Africa. Don't try it. Oh, don't try it. You can't say everything you see. When you say it, you see, the moment you are joined with certain persons who are ahead of you, understand this carefully, that for you to make the best of that relationship, you have some level of personal sacrifices to make. Part of that sacrifices is the expression of your opinions. Pay attention. Is the expression of your opinion. There are moments you keep quiet, not because you are agreeing with what is happening, but because you are not the one in charge of that place. Don't confront your leaders. They won't. In fact, you know the problem with this? If you even get out of that system, because you have joined yourself to that system, when they pull back from you, the natural sequence of expansion you will have had, you will lack it. So your equals who were never part of that system, like you have become, and they are doing what you would have loved to be doing, will scale faster than you. Because when you join to a system, that is the projection people have around you. If they withdraw their support, you will feel it naturally. So what do? Allow leaders to remain in their position. Don't challenge them. Don't challenge them. But when it comes to what affects your life, you don't confront. When it comes to what affects your life, please pay attention. Not what affects the system where you are supposed to be assisting, where you are supposed to be a subordinate. But when it comes to what affects your life, let them have their say. You have your way. Are you saying that? Let them have their say. You have your way. But in a system, you need to temper your emotions a lot of times. If you are the one confronting a system, you will expect the system to promote you. So that one day the leader will be speaking and you tell him that stop there, my friend. No, that nobody will give you that kind of place. Finally, there is a level of compromise you must not give yourself to. Because when you lose your originality, Even the best of God will not come to you pretending, not to talk of the best of man. So there is a level where it will get to that it will be very clear that at this level, you should be able to represent yourself. So when it gets to where you are representing yourself, represent yourself well, and don't think you are representing yourself well by profiling yourself against a system, which a lot of people do. For instance, you see some associate pastors speaking to people as though they are the ones better than their leaders. You are better than him, and God didn't give you the grace He has given him. Calm down, my friend. So don't profile yourself against anybody. But when it comes to the place where you are giving expression on principle, don't be afraid. Just represent your life. Because as you grow up in life, everything you represent will be clear, including your sincerity. And I must not forget to add this: don't think you are always right. That's all of us. We have that challenge. Where the way something appears to you, you just feel, oh boy, wait till they happen now. No, don't feel you are always right because you are not. You are not. I believe that settles that. All right. Um, I think we need to pause here tonight. Once again, thank you all for joining. You can share this with anyone you believe is going to bless. And we continue again in the same line of thought by next week, Sunday. For my guys, don't worry. We'll do our in-house meeting after next Sunday, because in April I'll be a little busy that time. So thank you all. God bless you. Do have a great week. To the hand of the gracious God, I commit you. May He keep you. May He cause His face to shine upon you and grant you peace. For your sake, everyone that is acquainted with you, they are shielded, they are defended from evil. Nothing shall by any means hurt you. It is well with you in the name of Jesus. Do have a great week. Bye for now.